Hey everybody, it's Lon Seidman, and we're taking a look today at a new network-attached storage device from WD. This is the new MyCloud Home, and this is the Duo edition that has 2 drives built into it. They also have a single drive version as well. And these are devices that you plug into your network and you get your own personal cloud, kind of like a Dropbox thing, but all of the storage is located in your home versus on somebody else's server. So you buy this thing once and you don't have to pay for any monthly fees or anything else like that. Now, I do want to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in on loan from WD. We're going to be hanging on to this for a little while because we've got a lot to explore on this product as they add features to it in the near future. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, and no one is reviewing this content before it is posted. And additionally, WD was a past sponsor here on the channel. They are not sponsoring this video. And we're also going to talk a little bit about a software package called Plex a little later on in the video. They are also an occasional sponsor here on the channel, but they are not sponsoring this video. Now, if you're familiar at all with the MyCloud product line, this is going to be a very different product from what you're familiar with. It uses a totally different set of software and apps to access it. It doesn't have many of the features that are on the other products in the MyCloud line. It is really being geared towards consumers that want a set and forget kind of product here. So this is not going to be for advanced users by any stretch. And I want to make that clear up front because you're about to see something that is very, very different from what we experienced on other MyCloud and other network-attached storage devices for that matter. But if you've been looking for something very simple where you can install a cloud in your home, this one is a lot easier to use than the other MyCloud products that are out there. But again, if you're an advanced user, I don't think you're going to like what this thing does because you'll probably want to do more with it. So let's take a look at the hardware first, though, and dive into it. There isn't much to see here, actually. Your power goes in over here. You plug it in via gigabit Ethernet to your router. It requires Ethernet. It doesn't work over Wi-Fi, although your computers and apps and everything connecting to it can be on Wi-Fi, but this has to be plugged in directly to your router. It has 2 USB 3.0 ports here for bringing in data from external drives, but at the moment it doesn't have any way to back up. We'll talk more about that as we get further into the review. Here is the power button, so if you do shut it down remotely, you can push the button here to turn it back on. There's also a reset peg here, so if you ever forget your password, you can wipe the entire thing out just by holding down a paper clip in that hole there to get access to it. On the front here, there is nothing but a light that you'll see light up when we get everything up and running. And then the drives on the Duo edition are removable here, so what I can do is just pry off the top thing here, and then we can get in and see what we have for drives. Now, what they are saying in the documentation is that you cannot install any other drives on here except WD drives. They kind of treat this as an RMA, so you do have to contact WD to get replacement drives if one goes bad. But what you do here is just pop out the drive and replace it with another one, and the device here should rebuild its RAID array. Now, this is the Duo edition, and this one, of course, has 2 drives, and it's being marketed as, this particular one, as a 16 terabyte version, but only 8 terabytes is going to be made accessible in its default configuration. And the reason is that one drive mirrors to the other drive so that you have I don't want to call it a backup, but it's kind of like a backup in case one drive goes bad, you can keep operating on the other one. So I do recommend, if you can afford it, to go with the 2-drive model just because it gives you a little more stability in your data should a drive go bad on the unit, because the single drive MyCloud Home is not user accessible and only has a single drive. So if that drive goes bad, you lose all of your data. Here you do have a chance to at least get another drive installed before the working one that's left dies itself. Now, pricing on these is in a pretty decent size range here, given what you might want to choose. So the single drive with 2 terabytes costs about $160. The single drive goes up to an 8 terabyte model that you can find for $320. The Duo here starts at around $309 with a 4 terabyte installation, but note only 2 terabytes is usable. It goes all the way up to $699, which is the 16 terabyte version, but again, only 8 terabytes are usable. You can configure the dual drive versions to run in JBOD mode, which would give you the full capacity, but again, if you lose a drive, you'll lose a lot of data, versus here your data is somewhat protected, but unfortunately, again, at the moment, there is no way to directly back it up. Now, unlike other WD MyCloud products, the new one here requires that you log in through WD. So they're going to maintain your username and password, and there's no way to avoid that, but it does make it easier to use for consumers. Now, the other MyCloud products do allow you to decide whether or not you want to have WD control users for you, or you can do it yourself. Here again, it is only accessible through mycloud.com. Once you log in, you've got access to your device here via a web browser. So if you are away from home, you can jump in here and, for example, watch some videos or something. So I've got a movie here that I can double click and play on. Unfortunately, in its default configuration, it doesn't support some of the home theater audio codecs, but we're going to look at Plex in a little while that will do that. And what's interesting here is that this video is being transcoded on the fly. Basically, the MyCloud here is making the video smaller so that I can play it back in this window here. So you do have the option here to adjust to lower resolutions if you need to, and it looks like the processor in here is fast enough to allow you to watch your media remotely, which is pretty cool, and again, very seamless for consumers. Now, there's also a desktop app that you install on this, so let's take a look and see how that works. Now, on a Windows or Mac PC, the only way to get access to your MyCloud Home, whether you're home or away, is through the WD Discovery app that I have loading right now. You have to log into your MyCloud account through that software, and once you do, it will let you in. Now remember, this is a network-attached storage device. You have to connect to it over the network. There's no way to plug in a USB cable directly to your computer, for example, and on this particular model, the only way to get at it is through their software. Prior versions of the MyCloud did just show up to every computer on your network. You could connect to that drive and treat it like a local drive if you were home, but when you left home, it didn't work the same way. This one does work the same way whether you're home or away. So let's go back over to our Windows Explorer here, and you can see that the MyCloud Home here shows up as Drive Z, and I can move files over to it. For example, I could click on the file to open it up and look at it in any Windows application. It basically treats this like any other drive on the system, and the nice part about the way they've implemented this, at least, is that you can get this exact same functionality, probably a little slower, when you're not at home. But for techie users like me, it does require you to give up control over access to WD. But I think for most consumers, the other way these products worked in the past was a little confusing. This reduces the confusion. Now, if you want to store files locally on your computer for when you don't have access to an internet connection, like when you're on a plane or something, you can set up synchronization folders. So I'm just going to create a new folder on my desktop here called Test Sync. And I'm going to right-click on the folder now, and you'll see that I have an option here to sync this to MyCloud. And what will happen here is every file that I put in this folder will automatically get backed up to the MyCloud here and synchronize. So if I lose my internet connection, I can still have access to these files. I can edit them, and then when I get my connection back, it will resync those files back to the MyCloud. So it works just like Dropbox does. So if we pop back over to the web version of our MyCloud Home, you'll see there is a Sync from Desktop folder. We can go in and look at that Test Sync folder and see those two files that we just added. Likewise, on my Z drive here, if we go into the Sync from Desktop folder, again, that folder lives there in addition to living here on my desktop. And if I were to go into the local folder here and just make another file, let's just call this a test file, that file will then get synced up with the cloud here. So in a second or two, that file will click off, and there we go. We've got it now synced to the MyCloud on the Z drive. And if I go in here and just maybe back out and jump back in again, you'll see now it exists there as well. So pretty seamless file syncing, just like Dropbox. My only gripe with this is that the folder lives inside of this Sync from Desktop folder. So I couldn't locate this somewhere else on the MyCloud. It just exists in this folder. You can put folders inside of it, of course, but you can't move it out to other portions of the MyCloud. All of your sync folders will live over here. And the only issue I ran into with the file synchronization was when I changed the name of the folder on the desktop computer. That appeared to have broken the sync back to the MyCloud Home. So if you do change a folder name, be sure to right-click and re-enable the syncing. Now, if you don't want to do the file syncing thing, there is another option, and that is to have the folder be available offline. So what you can do here is click Make Available Offline. This will cache the contents of this folder to your hard drive so that if you are leaving for a little while, you can sync up the folder to the MyCloud Home. Once you get back to a network connection and you don't need those files stored locally anymore, you can just right-click here and click Unsync, and that will make that folder's local files disappear, but they'll be safely stored on the MyCloud Home. Another cool thing they've got here is the ability to share the entire folder, and you can do that just like Dropbox does. So you can click Create Share Link here. And what this will do is create a link that's publicly accessible to the world, but they can't do anything with it other than view things. So I'm going to copy this link here real quick, and I'm going to run over to an incognito tab on Google Chrome, so I'm not logged into anything, so you can see what this looks like. And when somebody goes into this link here, no matter who it is, they'll have access to the files that are in that particular folder. So you can share a particular folder and add more files to it over time, or you can just share an individual file. Somebody could go in here and view this file, for example, or download it. So you do have the ability to share files on a permanent or temporary basis with people, but it is read-only. So let's take a look now at the mobile app. I have it running here on my iPhone, but this also works on the iPad as well as on Android devices too. So it'll work across just about every platform, and the experience you're about to see here is the same. So what we've got here is exactly what we had on the desktop computer, because we are connecting to the MyCloud Home. And if I click on this test file that I made, you'll see I can't do anything with it. I can open it up in a different app here on the iPhone, for example, so I can toss it over to Apple's word processor. But if I were to save this file, it's going to be saved on my phone. There really isn't a nice way to connect up documents to this just yet. It doesn't seem to support the iOS extensions at the time that I'm recording this video. It also doesn't appear that editing files on Android gets those changes back to the MyCloud either. So this is really about downloading and copying files over. And in fact, I couldn't even put this document back on the MyCloud app either, which is something you can do on the old versions of the device. So I think they are very focused here on photos and videos through this product, and it's very easy to work with them. Quite easy to get them uploaded. For example, I could click on the add item here, just click the add button. I can go over here to upload photos and videos. Again, the experience is very similar to what I might see on the Android side as well. I can select the images that I want to upload here and then click upload, and those will get sent over to my MyCloud Home, whether I am here at the house or somewhere else. So that's pretty easy to get going with. It also supports automatic backup. So when you do get home at the end of the day, you plug your phone in, it will automatically dump everything that you took over the course of the day into the MyCloud Home, so you have a permanent backup of everything that's on your phone. Now, unlike other types of files, photos and videos are actually very accessible and easy to use with this. So, for example, you could dig through the file system here, select an image that you want to look at and pull it up. But it also can pull in all of the photos and videos on the device into one section here. And you can even filter this down further by the type of file. So I can just hit photos only or just videos only. And they have a pretty cool feature for video playback here. So if I go ahead and play back this 1080p file that I captured from an Atari the other day, you can see it plays back just fine because I'm on my local network. But if I'm away from home on a slower cellular network, for example, I might want to reduce the file size so I can watch the video. And what this will do is real-time transcoding. So I can go over here to click on where it says original, and I can go over to the 480p option here. And what that's going to do is re-encode the video on the fly so that I can watch it at a lower resolution that consumes less data. So I'm less likely to eat up my data plan or less likely to saturate my available bandwidth, for example. So it does take a second or two for it to kick back on again here, but once it gets going, you're able to watch the video right where you left off at a lower resolution, as you can see, and you're off and running. So very tightly integrated into this. We're also going to look at Plex in a few minutes, which is another way to do a similar thing, perhaps with a slightly better interface, but really nice that they kind of just got all that dialed into the main app. Now, one of the things I saw, though, was that some video files it doesn't like to transcode. So these two blank icons here are some videos I shot at 4K with my iPhone. And while I can play these back through the app here because my iPhone can support that, the MyCloud Home is unable to reduce the video size on those. So I have no option for that, even though my phone can play it back. So it looks like 1080p files are okay, but larger ones seem to have some issues with that transcoding feature. And there's a pretty decent search function on here too. So I can click on search here and type in Ace, for example. It'll find my Ace Ventura movie, or I can type in test here and it will find all of the files name test on the drive. It's very quick file searching on here if you're looking for something specific. And the mobile device does have some administrative settings also, not many, but there are a few on here. And everything you're going to see on this screen is also available on the web app as well. So you can see here we've got my full lowdown of what I've got going on with about 7 terabytes left out of 8 total. And again, you get half of the space available on the box due to that RAID 1 configuration. What I could do here, though, is move it out of that mode into a full capacity mode where I would get the full 16 terabytes, but I'd have to blow up what I already have. And again, it puts my data at more risk. So I think if you are with the Duo, do the RAID 1 to at least have that peace of mind. There are 2 users right now on my system, me and another me that I created. And unfortunately, it puts these users into different silos. So I cannot see what any other user has on this drive. I can share folders like we did a little earlier, but that is read only and it doesn't show up on the app. So everybody who logs in has their own space inside of this drive. And what really gets me here is that even though I'm listed as the device owner, I can't see what anyone else has stored on my hard drive here, which kind of makes me nervous, especially as a dad with kids. I'd like to know what they're storing on my devices. Now, of course, I could log in with their username and passwords to poke around in there, but if you don't have that information, you do not know what is currently being stored on your drive because every single one of these users exists in their own silo on this thing, and it would have been nice to have a little more flexibility as to what I could gain access to as the administrator. And also, I would love to see some ability to share folders between accounts. You can do that on the other MyClouds, but not on this one. Every user has their own space. But that said, it's very easy to add additional people to your MyCloud device here. You just click on Invite User and type in the email addresses of the people you wish to add, and they will all get their own private space on the drive after they click on the link to set it up. So there's no permissions to set, no folders to manage or anything. It just lets them in once they click on the link after the invite into their own private silo. Now, as I mentioned at the outset, we do have 2 USB 3.0 ports attached to the back of this drive here. And when we plug in an external hard drive, we're going to get a push notification sent over to our phone to let us know that a drive has been attached to our MyCloud home. And it's going to happen no matter where you are in the world. Now, here comes the notification. I can respond to that notification here. And what this will let me do is copy the files off of this drive onto the MyCloud home, but I can't copy anything out, unfortunately. So this is a one-way street. I can copy the entire drive that I've attached, or I can select specific files or folders here. So I can select the backup folder, for example, here, click copy to, and then it will allow me to place this somewhere on the drive. Now, what's interesting is that although other users of this drive can't see my files, everybody, when I've got something attached, can get access to this. So you really need to make sure that the people you trust are using this device, because I do believe everybody gets the push notification about these drives being attached, and anybody can copy files to their particular silo on your MyCloud when you do plug it in. And again, there is no way to back up to an external drive just yet, short of plugging that drive into your computer and copying the files off manually. I think that's a pretty big oversight to launch the product without any way to back it up, but right now that is what the case is. But let me show you where the apps for this device live, because at some point I'm sure they're going to add an app to add that backup functionality in the very near future. So let's dive back over to the web interface and check out what our additional options are. All right, so we're back on the computer now. We're going to go over to the services menu here. And by the way, this also exists on the mobile app. I just felt it was easier to walk through this on a larger image. So there are right now 4 different services you can add to this box, and I am sure there will be more in the near future, including hopefully a backup feature. And when it does come out, I'll cover it and link to it down below in the video description. But right now, these are the 4 that I have available to me. So you can do something here with social media import. And what this will do is connect up with Facebook and other services and automatically copy files from those services to your MyCloud home. So photos and other things, you can basically just back up all of your social profiles onto your device for safekeeping, and it will continually do that in the background. We're going to look at Plex here in just a second, which is a media serving application. Adds a lot of great functionality to the device, and it was good to see that it launched with this. You also have network import here, so if you have other MyClouds on your network, you can import data from them automatically if you're transitioning from the old one to the new one. That might be easier than having to connect your computer up as an intermediary. So what it does here is it goes out to the network here, looks for any other MyClouds that are on the network. You click on the one you want to import, and it will bring in all of that data for you. IFTTT is pretty cool. This is a great website. I wish I had more time to cover this in this video, but basically you could have it trigger anytime somebody tags you on Facebook, it'll copy that tag file to your MyCloud. That's kind of what IFTTT does. You can give it a bunch of parameters, and anytime something happens online that falls in line with that parameter, it will copy something or do something to your MyCloud, and it's really cool. We might do some more with that a little later on in the month, so let me know if you'd like me to cover that in more detail. What I want to do now, though, is take a look at Plex, because this is a great media serving application, and if you want to have the box here serve media to devices in your home as well as your mobile devices, Plex is a great way to do that, and it's built into here, so let's see how it performs. So here we are in the Plex interface, and this of course is a separate application that we've just installed and have running here in the background on the MyCloud Home. I have covered Plex in excruciating detail down below, so I'll give you a whole bunch of videos you can watch as to all the things that it can do, but we're just going to look today at how well it performs on the MyCloud Home. So I've got the web interface here loaded up on my laptop. It of course also works with phones and tablets as well as TV boxes too. So a lot of different things connect up with it, and it's a great way to get your media served to different devices from a central place. Now on this device, when you install the service on here, what you'll see added to your MyCloud directory is a new folder called Plex, and inside of there are a bunch of additional folders where you can drop off your media. So what I've done is copied over a couple of movies that I have stored on another device in my home here. I've got the new Star Wars movie as well as a short called Frozen Fever that my daughter watches all the time. Both of these came off of Blu-ray discs. These are huge files. You can see the Star Wars movie is 38 gigabytes in size. It is quite large. And what you can see here is once those files are loaded into that folder, Plex makes them very nice to look at. They've got great artwork here, a bunch of information on the film and all the people that star in it. And then what I can do here is click on the play button and start playing that movie back on the web interface here. I'm just going to resume it from where I last left off. And what will happen now is the MyCloud will begin serving that media over to my laptop here, hopefully, and we'll see that movie spring up here in just a second. Now, one of the things that Plex does is that it transcodes the movie. If it detects that your computer as configured or your tablet can't play the movie back in its native format, it begins to make the movie smaller or change the audio format so that it can work. And I'm finding, at least with these big files, is that Plex has not been all that stable on the MyCloud Home here. Sometimes it works great and I'm able to watch my movies even having them crunched down into smaller sizes, but other times it kind of sits here and spins its wheels. I've been rebooting it quite a bit, so the stability isn't quite there yet. So let me get this thing working and I'll show you how it does work once everything is in place. I'll be right back. All right, I think I've got it working now. What happens is it doesn't like to have you skip ahead to other parts of this very large movie. This is an extreme example of what you might throw at a Plex server, but I like to test these huge files to see how well these things might work for enthusiasts. And right now, at least in my testing, it's not really well suited for serving up these really, really large Blu-ray files. But this will start playing here, as you can see, and I am able actually to do some transcoding on this to make the file a little smaller. So right now, it's currently at its regular 40.5 megabits per second, but I can maybe turn this down to 720p at 4 megabits per second. Of course, the screen's going to go blank here for a second, but I have found in prior testing before I started shooting, of course, that it was able to play back that movie effectively. And the reason why this is important is because not every device can play back every video file. And one of the nice things about what Plex does is that it can, on the fly, make adjustments to the file, both in its video and audio, to make them play back. So right now, we reduced the size of that huge 40 megabits per second video down to about 4 megabits per second at 720p, and it's able to play this back just fine. I'm not having any real problems there. However, I did try to pull up my daughter's Frozen video here. This one I also asked to reduce down to 480p, and right now it's just kind of literally frozen in place. So this does not do very well as a multiple Plex serving device, but it does seem to be doing okay with a single stream. And this has typically been my experience with consumer network attached storage like this. These are not very good at being Plex servers for enthusiasts. I think they do better with smaller files that you probably have in your library. They should do fine if you want to find an efficient way of getting some video that you shot with your phone or camera out to other people in your house on different devices. But I think for hardcore media serving, this is probably not going to be good enough for what most Plex enthusiasts will be looking for. The one device I do have that has been working quite well also comes from WD. That is their PR2100 MyCloud, which is a more enterprise level device. Costs a little more, but is an exceptional Plex server. I'll put a link to that device down below so you can learn more about it. And before we close out, I did want to talk about the performance of the drive, writing to and from it over the network. So I've got my computer here on gigabit Ethernet, as is the MyCloud Home. And you saw when we first started the test here, we were running around 65 megabytes per second on writes, and that was about the fastest I could see it do. The reads sometimes get into the 90 megabyte per second range, but never higher than that. Now, usually on a gigabit Ethernet with a modern network attached storage device, we should be seeing about 100 megabytes per second on both the writes and the reads. In fact, those are speeds I get with many of the other WD MyCloud devices that are currently out on the market from WD. So I think the software that you have to run to use this over your network is introducing some overhead that might be slowing it down. But the intention of this product is not for techie users like me or perhaps some of you. It's really designed for consumers that want their own cloud service without the complexity. And this thing really does strip away a lot of control that techies like, but it also strips away all the complexity that comes with that control. So you install software and then you're up and running, and there really isn't much to think about. The big thing that I see lacking right now on this is the ability to back it up. That really needs to happen. There needs to be a way to safely secure your data, especially on the single drive model, which is prone to failing if that single drive inside of it fails. So that was one thing that I found pretty lacking here. I would like to see some ability for the owner of the drive to control what goes on inside of it. So I don't like the fact that I could give my kid a silo on this thing that I can't get access to. So I'd like to see a little more flexibility on that. But a lot of these things are fixable in software that I think will happen over time. So as this product improves, I will definitely come back and look at some of its newer features when it does. But I think if you're an enthusiast, again, this is not for you, but if you are a consumer who's confused by all these network attached drives, this might be a way to go to simplify getting all of your files stored safely no matter where you are in the world. This is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters, including gold level supporters, the Black Eyed and Blues Music Hour podcast, Chris Allegretta, John Prawl, William Miller, and Charlie Walden. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/S.